Hello everyone. In this one, we'll be creating a UMG interface similar to this one to customize subtitles.
Let's go to the beach.
That's a great idea.
We haven't been in a while.
We haven't been in a month.
Prerequisites for this are a C++ project and part 1 of the subtitles video. Creating subtitle settings UMG widget. Feel free to slow down the video at any point in time, as I have sped up multiple parts of the video to make it as short as possible. Here I am creating a reusable widget, a combo box with a label. This makes it so that we have cleaner widget blueprint hierarchy and also uniform style throughout. Now I am creating a custom event dispatcher so that we can easily access the onSelection changed event from custom widget references. We'll also be passing additional information such as selected index, which is good to have for our purposes. We'll also be setting up the label text to be easily editable in the instances of the custom widget. Now we'll be duplicating this and replace the logic for onSelection change and replace the combo box with a checkbox. Similar to the previous custom event dispatcher, we create one, but now for state change for the checkbox. Now, in a new widget blueprint, we'll use the previously created custom widgets, the combo box with label and checkbox with label, to assemble and create the desired settings menu. Here, I am updating the custom checkbox widget with text label to show the current status of the checkbox. This is totally optional, I just did it for better visibility throughout the demo. Now I'm ensuring that the newly added text label widget is automatically updated when the checkbox changes its state, so that we don't have to manually handle the text every time there is a change in the checkbox state. Here I am basically exposing the custom widgets as variable in the subtitle settings so that I can use them later on. Importing fonts and setting up settings data asset. This is just importing and setting up the fonts. I have used some free fonts for this demo and has set it up in two ways. One with multiple variations, regular, bold, etc., and one with single variation. You can slow down this section to see how I did my setup, but you should be able to do this on your own. Now for the primary data asset, I'll be creating some structs, namely font size, typeface and text background. If I need any more, I'll be creating them later on, as I want the settings to be easily extendable from a single data asset and not heavily tied down to a widget blueprint. Hardcoding this will make it easier to set up, but making it modular makes it easier to extend in case the design changes very late into the project. The structs basically store the display name and the appropriate data type. So, color for text background, float for font size, and so on. This is where the primary data asset is actually created. The primary data asset just stores the created structs as arrays. The PDA or primary data asset created from this will be our default subtitle settings and the initial data for the game. Here I am actually setting up the PDA to add the default font size, typeface, text background. To add new font size, typeface and text background, we'll add it here, and our system being modular will easily pick up on it and reflect those changes in UI and every other place we use them. Updating game user settings. Now we update our custom game user settings class from the first video in the options menu series, so that it can save and load the values we set in the subtitle settings menu. As we already have a custom data asset to retrieve the data, we'll just be saving the index for the setting as it is set up in the data asset array. For the purposes of this demo, we will be saving the following variables: typeface, font size, text background, display speaker, and display subtitle. Setting up subtitle settings test scenario. In this section, I'll be basically creating a dummy level to recreate changing of settings in the main menu. We'll also set it up so that we can change settings mid-game. For that, we'll use the existing level. For the purposes of quick testing, so that I can easily switch between the levels, I am creating a custom button widget which will take in a level to load and immediately switch to that. For the purposes of the demo, I will create both the widgets in their respective level blueprints. You can create it anywhere you find suitable. By both the widgets, I mean I'll be creating a duplicate of the simulated settings menu without the background so that I can use it as demo for the mid-game settings. Fixing a UMG bug here. This is related to Z order of the widget and widget blueprint. You can pause and read the comment to better understand what does the Z order on Add to Viewport do and set it according to your needs. This was me showing you a before and after of what it would look like after changing the value for the Z order. Creating settings subsystem and populating subtitle settings. We'll create a setting subsystem which is basically a child class of game instance subsystem. Mostly this will be used to communicate changes in the settings menu and the actual advanced subtitles widget and any other systems which are present in the project, like changing the settings mid-game and not changing it in the main menu. For the subtitle settings specifically, we'll just need to broadcast that there has been a change in the typeface, font size, text background, display speaker or the display subtitle settings. And for these options, we'll need to create a dynamic multicast delegate and a function to broadcast it in blueprints. Binding for the same would be done in widget blueprint, specifically the advanced subtitle widget blueprint. Post creating the broadcast functions, make sure to make the broadcast functions ufunction blueprint callable. I'll address this issue later on in the video. Now in the subtitle settings widget blueprint, we create a reference to the settings PDA and use it to populate the respective combo boxes as shown. We basically iterate over each structs array and populate the respective combo box. Next, we update the respective combo boxes from the saved data in custom game user settings. Calling it in pre-construct is basically a guarantee that the user saved value would be shown post the setting UI is loaded. Now we handle the on selection change event for the combo boxes. Here we update the saved data in game user settings and broadcast to the receivers. For the timing, we'll use that only in advanced subtitles widget that there has been some data change through the setting subsystem. Now for the checkboxes, there is no need to populate the checkboxes as it will only have two values, true or false. We just update the respective checkbox from the saved data in custom game user settings, similar to what we did for the combo boxes. Now for the on-check state change event for the checkboxes, we do a similar thing and update the saved data in game user settings and broadcast to receivers through the settings subsystem. At this point there will be some weird bugs in the widgets. We'll fix them one by one. But the first one I would like to tackle is that checkbox label text is not being updated. So you will see how I debug that here. By now I have debugged the issue, and in this specific part I'll show you where was the issue and what do we do to fix it. Fixing UMG bug in subtitle settings. Calling the subtitle settings mid-game multiple times might cause the combo box to keep on adding the element. Hence, we need to ensure that we are always adding the elements to an empty combo box. Hence, we clear all the combo boxes before adding the data. That's what I'm doing here. Here, we'll just need to ensure that there is always a valid index received for the array from the game user settings. If it is something invalid like -1 or exceeds the count from the PDA structs array, then we need to handle it. For the time being, we are just ignoring it, but we might handle it differently. The data should mostly always be valid, but what if a player manually edits the game user settings? I had made some error here in this function specifically at this point, which I'll fix in some time. Adding background to subtitle widget. In this section, we simply add and customize a border to the rich text block or text block so that it can simulate as the text background. This is a very simple way to do it, It can be achieved through materials too. Extending subtitle rich text block functionality. This section is going to be pretty big and bit complex. We'll be adding some new functionality to the rich text block only. As customizing text block is very simple and Unreal already provides everything you need for that. We don't need to customize or add any new functionality for editing text blocks. So by default Unreal doesn't allow to change the style row data which we set up for rich text blocks other than default, which is very limiting for our use case. We'll be creating helper functions to edit other rows too, while ensuring that we don't edit the associated data table asset for the rich text block. This will help us to easily modify rich text block as per our settings. The create and swap filler text style set helps to ensure that we don't edit the original associated data table asset by creating a temporary duplicate to use at runtime. The getter and setter text block style for given text style row updates and retrieves value for a given row name from data table as opposed to how Unreal does it, which is always default. This specific section might be very confusing for some who are new to C++, so feel free to reach out to me on my Discord for any further help or clarification. Now for the actual advanced subtitle widget, where the rich text block is stored, which will do the actual changes to the style. It will need to get that data somehow at start and at runtime too. If we were to only handle at start, we could directly use the game user settings. But using setting subsystem allows us to get the data whenever the value changes in UI, even at runtime. Hence we bind to the custom delegates we created in the setting subsystems here. This would have been as simple as calling set font typeface or set font size if you were using text block and not rich text block. But we are using rich text block as it provides more customization options compared to text block. Now, whenever there is a change in the typeface, this function is called, and what this function will do is iterate over all the available rows in the data table for our rich text block, and through our custom helper functions will only update the font typeface. We'll do a similar setup for font size, but the setup for text background would be a lot simpler as we just need to update the brush color for that. To get which typeface or font size or text background to use, we'll create a helper function which will retrieve the data from the PDA directly based on the saved value from game user settings. String regex utility creation. We create a string utilities blueprint function library. We are doing this to add remove speaker name functionality, and creating a generic class will help us extend other functionalities in the future. Logic behind this is that we do regex matching for the speaker tag in rich text block, and for the matching thing we just delete that part from the incoming subtitle text. You can use this website to play around regex and understand how I came up with the intended regex, as it explains the regex here. I am testing here with different edge cases and possible scenarios which may occur. Manually updating subtitle text. As we have to handle removing of speaker names, displaying of subtitles based on user choice, we have to handle the display of subtitles manually. If you remember from part 1 of the video, I had already created a utility delegate for the same. We will be using that. All we do in this function is we use the previously created string utility function to remove the speaker based on a boolean, which will be updating through the checkboxes. We also check if display subtitles is true, we display the subtitles, else we just return out of the function. This function will also handle hiding of text block so that when empty subtitle text is passed, the border just doesn't show up. It would actually look like a bug if the border just showed up. It doesn't work here, but I play around it within the next section, which is the polishing phase, and I fix that. The subtitles are not visible here because I had forgotten to set up the checkbox change events. The only thing the checkbox change event handles is updating the booleans, display subtitles and display speakers respectively. Final polishing. I mostly play around to set up the widget as per my liking in this section, fix some small bugs here and there. This is unedited and raw debugging at its best. There is mostly no voiceover in this section as things are not organized, but do not skip as some parts may be important. If you want me to summarize this better, do text me for this on Discord. I'll help you debug this if you're stuck anywhere. The basic summary is I initialize the subtitles so that when the game starts I receive empty subtitle string so that the border doesn't show up. Also, I handle the temporary creation of the data asset for rich text block which I've forgotten previously. These two are the major bug fixes. Apart from that, it's just polishing. and we finally have the system working. So yeah, thanks for watching the video.